Problem 3-10. Tanika made this sequence of triangles. If the pattern continues, what do you think the next two triangles in the sequence would be? You'll see we have 30, 60, 90 right triangles in each one of them. For the first one, the base side is 1. The hypotenuse is 2. And the middle leg is radical 3. As we increase our base length by 1 each time, you'll see that our hypotenuse increases by 2 and then increases by 2 again. So if we increase our base length to 4, then we go 2 plus 2, we'd add another 2, and then 6 plus 2 gives us 8. The third side, we had radical 3, then we had 2 radical 3, then we had 3 radical 3, which leads us to believe that on the fourth figure, it would be 4 radical 3. If that's what you thought, you are correct. If we went on to the fifth figure, we could say the base is 5, and then we would take our base, and we're trying to figure out what the hypotenuse is. If we look at the pattern, 2, 4, 6, 8, then we should end up at 10. We also have, we're adding 1 to what we're multiplying radical 3 by, or we could just say we're using the figure number. So for figure 5, we should have 5 radical 3. So there are our two next right triangles and their side lengths. So letter B, write a sentence to explain how to find the long leg and the hypotenuse if you know the short leg. It says, in example, if the base is n units long. Okay, let's take a little peeky here. If I had another right triangle, which isn't as pretty as the others, but don't judge. If we call this one n, we're going to have to then look at the relationships between the sides. The one that jumps out the most is, when I look at my hypotenuse, it's 2. When I look at my base, it's 1. Each time you look at your base and your hypotenuse, they have a relationship. That relationship is that our hypotenuse is always twice as much. So 5 times 2 gives us 10. 4 times 2 gives us 8. 3 times 2 gives us 6, and so on. So if our base is n units long, that means our hypotenuse would end up being 2 times our base, or 2 times n. Now if we look at our longer leg, radical 3, this is the same thing as saying 1 times radical 3. This one is our base, radical 2, times radical 3. Our base times radical 3. Our base times radical 3, and so on. Which means that the length of this longer leg would be n times radical 3. So as we try to come up with a sentence, we could say the length of the long leg is going to be equal to n times radical 3 units long, and our hypotenuse it is always going to be 2 times our base length, or 2n units long. Once again, this is a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. Hopefully, you already learned this in geometry, and this is a great refresher. But if you have questions, please make sure you ask. Thanks for watching. You've been a great crowd.